Good evening. Our March 28, 2019 City Council meeting is now called to order. Tonight, our invocation and pledge will be led by Jared Hill. Jared is a member of the Boy Scout Crew 613 and Troop 613. He's a freshman at Spring Hill and plays percussion for the Spring Hill Band. Please rise.
For your goodness and grace, for your For this time and this place, for your goodness and grace, for each friend we embrace, for each challenge we face, we thank thee, O Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jared. We appreciate you very much. Tonight in employee recognition, this week we are recognizing the City of Longview Parks and Recreation staff. On March 15th to the 17th, Longview hosted the 2019 Texas Amateur Athletic Federation Girls and Boys Youth Basketball State Tournaments featuring 4 different age divisions. The Longview, Pine Tree, and Spring Hill Independent School District and LaTourneau University were essential partners and perfect venues for the event. Parks Rec employees Harry Enneman, Lauren Hauser, and Leah Ward worked to bring the tournament to Longview and organize the events, which included 34 staff members, 74 officials and timekeepers, 157 games, 85 teams, over 900 players, 74 teams outside of East Texas. The organization and dedication shown by recreation staff showcase the City of Longview as an excellent host for these events. Will you all please come forward? Come on up. I don't know how many of you all understand how important tourism on any level is for a community. But sports tourism is what we've been engaged in for a number of years, since really the development and enhancement of Lear Park. And it's nice to see us going outside of just baseball and softball and soccer into other arenas that we can capitalize on. Because when you look at those numbers, 74 teams from outside of East Texas, okay, 74 teams. These are basketball teams, probably 8 to 10 kids on each team, probably 2 to 4 parents or people with each of those kids. Multiply that times hotel rooms, restaurants, eating establishments, retail venues, convenience stores. That's a lot of income for our community. And those things are very, very important to a community like Longview. And we want to be known as a regional sports tourism hub of East Texas. And so your dedication, your continued support for that endeavor is really appreciated by the citizens and especially by this council and city staff, because those dollars go directly into our pocket at some level, but into the community's pocket at every level. So we thank you for that dedication and for continuing and keep that going. I mean, they have ping pong tournaments and tiddlywinks. I mean, don't stop with basketball, get them all. So I really appreciate that, and I appreciate y'all's dedication and support. Thank you so much. Great job. Thank y'all so much. Great job. Great job. Tonight in our community recognition, this is a really fun one. Tonight we're going to honor an individual who literally goes the extra mile. And I don't know what TJ thinks he's doing here, but TJ, we're honoring you as community recognition because I want you to understand something. In honor of World Down Syndrome Day on March 21st, the National Down Syndrome Society hosted a 250-mile run from Washington, D.C. to New York City. The 3-day journey began on the steps of the U.S. Capitol and ended at the United States and at the United Nations. Working as a team, the runners each ran segments of the journey. Representing his 6-year-old son, Austin, Longview resident T.J. Angus ran approximately 45 miles as part of the team. Running is part of the Angus family tradition. T.J. and his wife, Tiffany, are both runners, and their son, Austin, loves to go with them in their stroller. Tiffany's also one of the organizers of the Longview Half Marathon and the 3.5-mile run taking place on April 20th, benefiting the East Texas Down Syndrome Group. So TJ, come on up. I gotta honor you. Bring the family. Come on. This is my buddy right here. I just want y'all to know how amazing it is what TJ did, representing Down syndrome and the awareness that we need to bring together for this. And he ran, I don't think I drove 45 miles that week, and he ran it in 3 days. But this is such an important thing for our community and for the citizens and for the families that experience this. And I know you do, and I know we do because of my niece Alex. But hey, buddy, you going to run with your dad here pretty soon? Yeah. Huh? I know you are. But this is what it's all about right here. This is what makes it so special. Thank you for representing Longview, for representing your family, and representing all those children with Down syndrome. You're an amazing man. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it. Can you beat that or what? Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you very much. Very proud of you guys. We're now to citizen comment. I have 2 speaker cards. Jared, you're just here for answering questions, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ann Hugman?
Good evening. My name is Ann Hugman, and I serve as Vice President of the Longview Arboretum and Nature Center. And mostly, I just love Longview. Tonight, I'd like to speak out in favor of the passing of the bond election and what this means for our beautiful city. The bond election was called after many years of planning, discussion, and inclusive ideas gathered from a very diverse group of citizens. I appreciate that everybody was invited to the table and all opinions were considered. I'm thankful every day that we have a majority of citizens that care for our city and voted to move our city forward. I'm here in support of all aspects of the bond. Our police and fire deserve to have the very best when it comes to protection of the public. All of our parks deserve the proposed improvements, and we know our streets need attention and upgrading. In short, the bond was needed and it was overwhelmingly approved. Sure, there was opposition, there always is, but thank goodness we live in a democracy, and with a vote, the majority wins, and we move forward to honor that vote and the voice of our citizens. I thank each and every one of you for standing up for what is right in the face of controversy. Let us put the negative chatter behind us, and please move us forward as a positive force and as a positive partnership of citizens with city government. Each of us must do the next right thing to move our city forward in a positive manner. I thank each of you for your service to our community, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. I have no other speaker cards. Would anyone else like to speak and fill out a card after the meeting? Very well. Public safety update, Chief Bishop.
Mayor Mack, council members, Mr. Bonds, good evening. Well, technical difficulty here. I'm going to get this slide out of the way first. A couple of Saturdays ago, we had a basketball game. You can see Councilman Wade there was gracious to come down and participate with the police versus the fire at LeTourneau University. And if you'll notice there in the first picture, he's driving towards the basket with one of the police officers defending that basket. So I think you can figure out which team he was playing for. But I want to thank Chief Steelman and LeTourneau University for having us down there and participating in this event. And I'm going to move on because I think the fire chief will finish the rest of the story. I want to give a shout out to Arabella of Longview. Yesterday they had the police and fire come out for a luncheon and eat with the residents out there. It was a great afternoon where we were able to go out and eat lunch with the residents there at Arabella and visit with some of our seniors in the community and kind of spend a little bit of time with them. So want to thank them for inviting us out there. This past week, we had a retirement within the department. I know this is outside of the usual retirements of personnel, but we had to retire one of our canine dogs, Indio. Officer David Seal was the handler for Indio, and it's time for him to time to him retire. And want to thank him for his service from December of 2014 to March of 2019. And he's going to go on and live with the officer and carry on his life of leisure. And you know, the canine dogs are not only a tool for us to use, but they're a protector for the officers too. And it's very emotional to have to retire a dog, but it's time for him to retire. So we're going to be having a reception for him at the Longview Animal Care and Adoption Center here in the near future, and we'll get that information out. So I want to thank David for his years of handling NDO and the good work that they did out there on the streets. We will be having another sergeant promotion on Monday, April 22nd at 3 o'clock in the municipal courtroom. We'll be promoting Officer Audrey Nikki Wright to sergeant. Audrey currently serves as a detective and investigates child sex crimes. So this is a good promotional opportunity for her, and we're glad to be in a position to promote her to sergeant, and would like to invite anybody to that ceremony that would like to come. We will also be having another retirement reception on Tuesday, April 30th at 10 a.m. in the Roy Stone Training Center. Annette Wallace, who is a police operations assistant in our criminal investigations division, will be retiring after 33 years of service. So want to thank Annette for her years of service, and invite those family, friends, and public that would like to come and wish her well. It's almost time for our Giants of Law Enforcement banquet. That'll be coming up on Tuesday, May 14th at 6 o'clock at Maud Cobbeck Convention Activity Center. Tickets are $15. Those that are interested in purchasing tickets can call 903-237-1100, and my executive assistant, Karen Grisham, can get them fixed up with tickets to the event. This also not only serves as an award ceremony for all the officers in Gregg County, but also as a memorial service for all the officers in Gregg County that have lost their lives in the line of duty. So we'd like to see everybody there. I want to recognize one of our officers tonight, Officer Chris Dotson. Over the last couple of years, Officer Dotson has been stopping by the East Texas Montessori School and visiting with the kids and reading with the kids. They had a book fair not too long ago, and he realized that not all the kids were able to get a book from the book fair. So Officer Dotson took it upon himself to collect up donations from other officers in the department, and he wanted to make it his goal that every kid that went to the book fair would be able to buy a book and leave with a book from the book fair. So I want to thank Officer Dotson for what he did to help our children in their reading efforts and ensuring that they were able to get a book at the book fair. So I want to thank him and give him a little shout out. Also tonight, I can release our 2018 crime statistics. Here we have our 2018 statistics compared to 2017, and I can report to you tonight that we've had a reduction in our violent crimes of 4.7% overall. You can see our criminal homicides remained at 7 compared to last year. We've seen a 12%, almost 13% decrease in our sexual assaults, and a 2.6% decrease in our aggravated assaults. We also had a reduction in our property crimes as well. Overall, those are down 7.6%, and a significant reduction in our robberies that occurred at 42.6%. Burglaries are down 15.5%. Thefts are down 3.3%, and our motor vehicle thefts have reduced another 7%. So overall, between violent crimes and property crimes, we saw an overall reduction of 7.3% over last year's statistics. So that's some good news and a good thing. And I want to thank our community. This is a community effort, and this is something that I think we all can be proud of. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, Chief Bishop? Just two things, Chief. I know Nona and I both went to school with Annette Wallace. We graduated high school with her. She's a wonderful person. We thank her for her service for so many years in the department. And Chief, I told you 3 weeks ago, if he played, get him on your team. Remember? You sat right there. I told you, if he played, get him on your team. That's all I'm going to say, Chief.
I don't know what happened.
Come on, Chief Stillman, your turn.
Thank you.
Mayor Mack, members of council, Mr. Bonds, thanks for the opportunity to catch you up on some of the activities of the fire department in the last couple of weeks. I'd like to thank Worlds of Wonder for having us up on back on the 15th to come in and share a little bit about what the life of a firefighter is like with some of the kids that were there. Got to demonstrate some of our equipment for them, just a lot of great question and answer, and we just really enjoyed interacting with those kids up there that day. You know, getting ready for this basketball game, we started a long time ago. Here's our 6A crew. They were out doing hydrants one day up on Columbia Drive and took the opportunity to get a little practice in with some of the neighborhood kids. So obviously that paid off. So I'd like to thank those kids there on Columbia Drive for sharpening up our guys and getting them ready for that little basketball game with PD. And Chief Bishop talked about it. We appreciate the sportsmanship and the camaraderie and getting to go out and support a great cause like athletics out at LeTourneau University. Congratulations to our team that put the smoke on the PD by beating them by about 30 points. And here's some Councilman Wade in action right here. You can just watch this guy. This guy's got real talent and skill. Just nothing to it. So he's not just good in the paint, he's good from outside out in the backyard. So Councilman Wade, we appreciate your help. And we'll look forward, we'll start talking about what we're going to do for next year. But thanks for the help. We've been really busy this month doing a lot of live fire training opportunities. Here's an example of one. We went up to Wood County and did a prescribed fire that went on for about 3 days. Got a lot of our wildland training in, our CE hours that are required. This is primarily our people that deploy with the TIFMA system across the state. Some of these firefighters actually deployed out to California to give them a hand. And this is how we keep our skills sharp, by going out and practicing on these opportunities, and how fortunate we were to have this right here in our local area. Hydrant painting. You may see us out the next several Saturdays. Our Longview High School National Honor Society class, we're back at it. These kids are getting together, giving up part of their day on Saturdays, and we're going out trying to make the city look a little better and making these hydrants where they're visible to us. So at 2 in the morning, we can see them down the street and know where that fire hydrant's at when we need to hook up and use it to fight a fire. So a quick shout out to Miss West and her kids out there at the National Honor Society class. These guys show up and they don't complain. They just get after it, and we go out and we knock out, I don't know, 30 or 40 hydrants on a Saturday, and we're just chipping away at it. There's about 4,000 hydrants in the city, and hopefully we'll eventually get to all of them, but we're making great progress. Another example of some live fire training, we took the opportunity earlier this week we have a partnership with the Elderville Lakeport Fire Department. They allowed us to come out and use their training facility. Because of the condition and the things that have been going on with our training field and this kind of lull that we're in before we get to implement the bond package, we've really shut down our live fire training, and it's been to the detriment of the department. So getting this ramped back up, being able to get some of our newer rookies out to train and actually fight some live fire and utilize our equipment, it was a great opportunity. We went out for 3 different days. I want to give a thanks out to Chief Owens out of Elderville for hosting us and allowing us to come out there and use their facility in this meantime until we can get ours up and running again. Stop the Bleed classes. These are available. All you got to do is give Chief Dodgen a shout. You want one for your business, your church, whatever. She can be reached at 239-5531. It's a free course. It's great training on how to save somebody's life. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chief Stillman? Thank you, gentlemen, for bringing us up to date on what's been going on with our public safety.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all. Council, we're now to consent agenda. Any items council like pulled off for separate discussion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, the action item, consider an ordinance allowing a variance to the requirements of Section 10-4 of Longview City Code relating to sales of alcoholic beverages. Mr. Shirley.
Thank you, Mayor Mack, members of council, Mr. Bonds. Action item A is to consider a variance request from Section 10-4 of the Longview City Code relating to the sale of alcoholic beverages. The Texas Alcoholic Beverage Code allows communities to adopt regulations to regulate distances from certain other types of businesses. The city has elected to do that. We've adopted the 300-foot rule from schools and churches. The Alcoholic Beverage Code also allows cities to grant variances in circumstances where they make findings that it's appropriate. And so in this situation, as you can see, this is the former Ryan's Steakhouse property there on the loop. It is within 300 feet of a church there to the north and within 300 feet of the Longview High School property. They are asking to redevelop that property. They're proposing to do a convenience store there with gasoline and obviously wanting to be competitive and sell the beer and wine. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Shirley? Any questions of Mr. Westmoreland, who's here to answer questions on this issue? Mr. Wright?
How close are you to the school and the church?
So the property line for there, it's the distance of the right-of-way. So,
Oh, that's a church, right? And that's a church right behind it there?
yes.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the one on the other side of Hawkins there.
No, yeah, directly on the north side, on the opposite side of Porter Lane is a church.
I would just comment that the developer contacted me many months ago, and I have touched base with the church and the school just to make sure that everybody was on the same page, that if there were concerns, that there is a time and a place to bring them, and none have been brought to my attention that would be of concern to either. So I'm comfortable moving forward with it. How long has Ryan's been empty? Do you know? I mean, it's been over 2 years.
Over 2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Glad to have something in there. Mr. Wade?
When was the last time something of this effect has been done, where we've broken ordinance?
It was just a number of months
Right
ago,
across the
actually
street.
across the
Nukes.
street for the Nukes property, because the majority of the properties across the street sell alcohol for on-site
Yeah,
consumption.
that whole strip there, right? That's less than, so across the street, it's less than the 300 feet then?
Correct. And the way the measurements are for schools, it's property line to property line in a direct line across. So it's a different measurement for churches. For churches, it's from door to front door.
Any other places in the city that you know off the top of your head that has the same situation where they're selling alcohol close? Just example, off the top of your head.
Yeah, there
There's a
are
lot of
several.
Yeah, we've had multiple
Yeah.
ones.
Flying J down there, the new one?
Yeah, Heritage,
Variants like that?
No, it's-
didn't Heritage have to have variance for Forest Park School?
I don't think it's for the school.
No.
Did?
Just
That was just
because it
zoning,
was-
yeah.
No, that was a zoning issue.
Okay.
The ones that I'm aware of or where the alcohol sales was there prior to the school or church, and so they're kind of grandfathered, at least my time period here.
Thank you very much.
I move to approve.
All in favor? Oh, is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Shirley. I consider an ordinance authorizing city manager to execute change order number 9 with Iron Horse Unlimited of Malakoff, Texas regarding the project entitled the Longview Arboretum and Nature Center. That's a long one. Mr. Karen.
I was going to say, it's even shorter up there on the screen, too. So, good evening, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Bonds. At the last City Council meeting, we discussed the development of the Arboretum, its current funding, remaining outstanding items, and there are a number of options and variables that we presented to you guys to consider. Since that time, one of the variables that we discussed has changed, and that is the $800,000 in the irrevocable line of credit that was extended to be able to complete the $1.62 million, or $1.625 million 7-acre park that you see there inside the yellow. Since that time, the Arboretum has provided us those funds, so the need, if you will, for that unfunded portion is taken away. So now we need to move on to how exactly are we going to spend the $1.5 million remaining from the bond funds. Based on the discussion we had last time and that, we were tasked with developing that option. We reviewed the minutes of various meetings, documents, presentations to have a clear or a better understanding of the timeline as well as what was promoted for the use of the bond funds themselves. So we established priorities. and the main priority is to fulfill the obligation as presented in the bond issue, which is purchasing the building. And next was the landscaping as well as the improvements to the property itself. So the options that we prepared for you tonight are as follows. The first one is putting in the plants, which is change order 9, to the tune of $391,000. This amount is necessary to install all the formal garden areas. And the reason this is the highest priority is because who wants to go to an arboretum that does not have plants in it? And we feel it's appropriate to be able to complete the current $1.625 million project with plants in them. So that is why we have placed that as the number one overall priority. Next is the purchase of the 706 Cotton Street property. The amount listed, you'll see, is $606, which is less than the appraised value, but this is the remaining balance due on the note itself, as well as closing costs and fees. The reason we place this on here is because we feel that that is what we asked the voters to approve as part of the bond issue, but then also it creates a greater sense of place for the Arboretum itself, having an address there on Cotton Street, as well as being able to control access. Part of the intent, and if you remember in one of the agreements that we discussed, was the ability to charge fees to enter into the Arboretum on day one. Without this a true access point and a facility to be able to come into, it'll be a challenge to be able to move forward with sustainability of the project overall. So we feel it's important to be able to have that destination control access of the site overall. Next is the exterior grounds. Again, if you have that building, you have to be able to get from that site back to the formal garden areas and all those kind of things. Right now, it's not accessible. And when I say accessible, it's not handicap accessible, and we don't want to or need to bring people through a gravel area in order to access this beautiful, wonderful landscaped areas. So we need to be able to update that a little bit to be able to get people from the parking lot essentially to the garden itself. And then lastly, the building renovations themselves. And these are critical to being able to open the building. These include replacement of HVAC units, plumbing, acoustical tiles, as well as some lighting fixtures. We'll also note as part of this, the Arboretum is currently, the board itself is paying for improvements to that building. Those improvements are to the exterior, including new windows, roof panels, insulation, as well as framing on the interior. So those are all that will take place in addition to what is going on here. Part of the ordinance before you this evening also allows the city manager to negotiate a lease, to lease the building back to the Arboretum for their use and for occupying that space. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have at this time.
Any questions, Mr. Karen? Mr.
Karen, do we have any kind of contract between the city and the Arboretum Board to lease the building in the future?
The only thing that we have, we do have an operating agreement that stated that if the Arboretum Board donated the building to the city, that we would lease it back to them at no cost.
But they're not.
But they're not donating it. So
Okay.
again, that's what was in the agreement.
So if the city and the Arboretum Board can't come to an agreement on a contract and we buy the building, we'll own a building with no purpose, really.
Yeah, I think our recommendation would be to ensure that we have a lease, an agreeable lease in place prior to closing on that property.
Okay. Yes, I agree, 1,000%. Okay, I would like to just, if council will indulge me just for a second, because I have a few things about this process that I'm uncomfortable with, but I accept, and I'll accept responsibility for it as well. But if you look at the timeline of events that took place, back in February of 2017, that's when the Arboretum Board discussed purchasing this building. In March, they announced they had made an offer. In May, they closed on the building, in May of 2017. Then in August is when the CPAC committee started meeting and determining bond organizational things on how we're going to set this bond up into 3 different areas: parks, public safety, and pedestrian transportation. Then in December, the Parks Subcommittee submitted a list which included Phase 2, which was purchase and improve the building on the property on Cotton Street, which is what you're talking about. And my concern is how we went from where we were to all of a sudden this building is now, being considered to be purchased. Because in February, we had an MOU with the Arboretum. We sat up here and we had a lot of discussion about that MOU and who was going to be responsible for maintenance and upkeep and what the city's responsibility would be and how much money the city would have to put into this, because we could not afford in our budget to hire and operate this Arboretum. We didn't have those funds. And so our MOU with them stated that we would do our part, but it also says that while owned by the LANC, the Arboretum Board, the Visitor Center is not considered part of the Arboretum in this agreement. Once the Visitor Center is paid off, the board may donate the Visitor Center to the city to become part of the Arboretum, provided, however, that nothing in this agreement obligates the city to accept said Visitor Center or any portion thereof. If LANC donates the Visitor Center to the city, the LANC shall have the right to access and use administrative offices and space and storage space within the visitors building without cost. Another location approved by the city within the Arboretum for administrative purposes, storage, and to ensure operational efficiencies of the Arboretum. So what I'm trying to wrap my hands around is, if someone has agreed to give us something, why are we wanting to pay for it? As a city, I don't, if someone wants to give me something, I'm going to say thank you, and I'm not going to offer to buy it. But that's not what we did. And I take responsibility for this as well, because we did put this as part of the bond package, and that's what the citizens were shown. And so, sometimes you like it or not, you have to do what is right. And it's not my vote. I don't get to vote. If it was just up to me, I know what I would do, but it's not up to me. It's up to the citizens, and the citizens voted to purchase this building as part of the Arboretum package. So I think we are obligated to move forward with this, but I do think we must have a signed agreement in place on what this rental income will be before we do that. Because I think with any business, and certainly the city of Longview, we rent space for our offices in the Glover Karim building. And I know we pay $10 and something a square foot for it per year, 86 cents a foot per year for our lease space. So, and they do that so that they can get their money back over a period of years for a purchase that they've made. And I think that's a good business practice. And I think we have to be the same way. We're being charged rent on fair market value. We have to charge rent on fair market value. And I think we have to negotiate with the LANC board to ensure that this is what we're all agreeing to. Because I think we're going to step out on a limb and purchase a building that if we have nothing to do with this building, what are we going to do with this building? And I don't want to spend our money like that. So I think we need to be very cautious of that. But I think we are obligated to move in this direction because this is how we presented it. And I want to make something else clear. This was said last week. This has been on the city website since September 12th of 2018. It says as plain as day under the Parks and Recreation Board, Parks and Recreation Bond, Longview Arboretum, and it says purchase the Cotton Street building. It says it. And it has not been changed because I asked that question, has it been altered? And it has not been altered. So it was presented to the community like that. And I think that's what we have to go with. But I want to make something else very clear. There were council members that promoted this bond, and they promoted this, but they did that as citizens, not as council members. So that does not obligate us to anything. Council members that went out and promoted this bond on their own accord, as all of us did in our own way, were speaking as citizens of Longview with one vote like everybody else. That was not from a council City of Longview moratorium. So that needs to be very clear, that this board presented a bond to the voters, and we need to uphold what we presented to the voters. And I think that's where we are. That's where I am. Thank you for indulging me.
Can I say one more thing? Oh.
No, I was just saying thank you for
Oh.
the transparency, because we do need to do the right thing. That's what we said we're going to do. That's what we need to do.
Mr. Wright, yes, sir.
You know, when I first heard about the Arboretum, I thought it was a wonderful thing as it was envisioned at that time for the city. And at that time, it was envisioned as a privately funded organization. And then when the organization realized they couldn't raise the funds that they needed for this, they came to the city and asked us to help out with it. And we have, and it seems like it just continues to snowball. So my question is this: the next time an organization decides they want to privately fund something and then realizes they can't, are we going to be asked again, hey, would you guys come on and give us money for this? Because we can't raise all the funds that we thought we could. And I realize this is going to be a wonderful park for the city, but I feel like the way it's being done is not the way, it certainly is not the way it was envisioned originally.
I would just add, if you
Please.
can indulge me also. Just as an advocate on behalf of the Arboretum, it certainly is the largest private-public partnership that I've participated in, and so there's certainly things that I know I personally can learn as we go along, and having MOUs and different studies, and what sort of safeguards do we need to have in place, both from the Arboretum side and the city side, to make sure that everybody is well protected and we move forward in the best interest of the city. But I did just want to clarify, with the CPAC, what was presented to us, Suzanne Cook came and spoke and asked the CPAC to consider including the Arboretum on the bond package because they had just bought a building that they didn't currently have plans to fund. I mean, that was exactly the ask to include on the bond. It was the purchase of the building and the renovations, because that was the phase 2 for the Arboretum, and phase 1 had been funded and taken care of privately by the Arboretum, and they were asking for us to include on the bond, which the voters of the city of Longview approved, that we issued debt for, to fund. So yes, I agree that we have certainly, in all things that we do, sometimes have additional asks for general operating. You know, we have that conversation with the animal shelter, we're having that conversation with the Arboretum, we have that conversation with everything that we kind of take on, and that's just part of our role. We have to decide what the citizens are saying that we need to build in and respect. But that's been my understanding, that that's what the citizens of Longview have asked us to do with the Arboretum, is to incorporate that and build that in. So that's what I intend to do, but again, I'm one voice up here and not all of them. And if in any way I do, of course, share responsibility for not necessarily communicating well, since we are having this conversation about is it a building or is it not a building, and those kind of things. So that certainly is partially my responsibility too, that I will share. But I support the recommendation that Scott has lined out tonight. I think that is in line with what I understood to be included with the bond package, and that helps move us in the right direction for a successful City of Longview and private partnership project.
Well, I certainly don't want to bring negativity upon this, because this is not meant to be negative. This is business, and business has to be business. As anything that we do, that's what we're responsible for, is to be business people for the citizens. And I truly think that if this works out the way it is supposed to work out, where we have this building and we renovate it and we lease it and it's an entryway to the Arboretum and the Arboretum is completed, and I think those are the things that we want to see happen. And if it happens that way, then we are doing what we're supposed to do. And we just have to safeguard against making sure we're not going into something blindly, because it's our responsibility to check those things. And so if we do what we're supposed to do, our Arboretum Board is doing what they're supposed to do, I think this is going to be just fine. But as long as we all understand that we each have a part to play in this step as we go forward, I think that's the most important thing. Is communication is where the breakdown always begins. As long as we're communicating openly and we realize what we have to do and what our goals are, and our goal is to have the nicest Arboretum around so people want to come here and spend their money. And just like we were talking about with the basketball, people who love to play basketball, there's people that love to play baseball, there's people that love to come look at plants. So, that's one more feather in Longview's cap that we don't have right now, and that's a place for people to come and do this. So yes, we want to see this succeed. But yes, we have to go about it in the right way, and we have to be responsible for what we're elected to do. And that's my point. My point being, we're going to move forward, and we're going to do what we're supposed to do, and I know that they're going to do what they're supposed to do. So unless there's any other discussion, shall we move forward with this, with some form of this ordinance or with this ordinance?
I do have one question.
Yes.
Does this include that we will not close until we have an agreement with Lank on the,
If that's part of your motion,
It does not, but you need to specify that.
okay?
is that correct, Mr. Ray, if it's part of our motion?
It's, we can make that modification if it's part of your motion. Or you can move to approve and we can, you can trust that your manager will do as he's been instructed, either way.
I could move to approve that we move forward with this, with the exception of the lease agreement being approved upon by the city manager and the mayor.
And that's already written as well, yes.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all very much for your time and your indulgence in that topic. Thank you, Mr. Karen. I know you spend a lot of time on this, as well as the Arboretum Board, and we appreciate everybody's willingness to work together, because we're all in this together. We're that one city again, so let's always remember that when we have discussions, and it looks like this all turned out in a good fashion. We're now to items of community interest. Mr. Moore.
For my sesquicentennial moment this month, I'd like to highlight the grand sesquicentennial. I'm gonna really get tired of saying that word. The Grand Sesquicentennial Trek. It's going to be our official parade, the 150 parade. It's sponsored by the Ambucks and co-sponsored by Longview Main Street, 100 Acres of Heritage, and the City of Longview. It's going to have a theme of celebrating Longview, our past, present, and future. Currently scheduled for 10 a.m. Saturday, April 18th next year in downtown Longview, and I assume it will basically have the same route as our Christmas parade and our state championship parade did. There will be prizes and awards of the best floats, as always. And for additional information, you can go to longviewtexas.gov/150. In 1970, for our centennial, the Gregton Rotary Club won with the best float. They had an actual working steam engine that you can see from a newspaper clip here.
Hopefully we'll do that at Win again.
Well, the Rotary Club of Longview is entering next year's, and they hope to create a replica of our mule-drawn streetcars. I inquired whether we would have actual mules or what, and I did not get an answer. But next year, this Rotary Club is celebrating their 100th year. And so it will be kind of a dual celebration for them. So we're looking forward to that. Second thing, tomorrow marks National Vietnam War Veterans Day. It commemorates March 29th, 1973, when the last combat troops left Vietnam. We are privileged to be hosting a ceremony tomorrow commemorating this day. It's at 11 o'clock at Teague Park at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Everyone is welcome to attend, and we hope to have about 100 to 150 Vietnam veterans from Longview, East Texas, and Shreveport attending. And personally, I have the honor of representing the city at that ceremony tomorrow, and Mayor, I'm greatly appreciative of
As well you
letting
should,
me to
Ed.
do this.
As well you should.
So hope to see as many of you there as you can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Notting.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to quickly say, Chief, don't worry about the basketball game, because honestly, you guys are winners. I mean, with the numbers declining in the crime rate, I think that's outstanding. So that's what's really important. So thank you.
Mr. Wade.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was pointed at me. I enjoyed to the fire department, Longview Police Department. Thank you guys for including me. Those are the photos. That was actually Chief Bishop and I before the game. Sure, after the game, it would look a lot different. But that was before the game. But Chief Bishop's a great guy, enjoyed hanging out. We really, as a town, have a lot to be proud of with our police department and our fire department. Both teams and both group of guys are really, really good guys. And the sportsmanship was great, even in the time of an injury that happened to one of the policemen. I hope he heals fast. But it was great to see he went down and all our guys went right into action. And they got everything there, stabilized him, got him out. So thank you for including me. To LeTourneau University, thank you as well. That's in District 3. We're very proud of LeTourneau in District 3, and so it was an honor to be a part of it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ray. Ms. Ishihara.
I have two tonight. The first is Strut Your Mutt, which supports the Longview Animal Care and Adoption Center, is happening this Saturday. Please come out and join us. You can register online, or you can show up and register the day of. Registration opens at 8:30 and the walk begins at 9. If you have an animal to walk, you are welcome to bring a dog or a cat to walk, although that might be a little dangerous. But animals are welcome, children are welcome. It's a family-friendly event. We will have kid activities and lots of fun things to do for both humans and pets, so please come out. The other one I wanted to invite you to, I did not remember to send in a slide for, but please mark your calendar. Saturday, April 27th is the Longview Wine Festival. It's happening at the Green from noon till 6, and we would be glad to have you in attendance. It'll be a big event, and I hope that you will be there.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Yes, first I'd like to thank code enforcement. We've had an issue out in my district here for the last, actually they told me today that they started writing tickets 8 years ago on this particular property. And I want to thank them for their hard work, and Terry Jackson also for his work in this. It's been a joint effort, and I think starting next week the area will finally get cleaned up, and I really appreciate it, and I know all the neighbors in that neighborhood appreciate all your people's hard work, Michael. And I did call Chief Bishop at 7 o'clock this morning. We had an issue with the train, and I don't know if it was because of the police, but I know they were out working it, and we finally got the train moved so we could get into our business. And this is a picture at our business as far as Stop the Bleed. They came out at 6 o'clock Monday morning. Oh, wow. And so we could take a Stop the Bleed class before we opened. And we really appreciate it. We have a lot of sharp equipment out there and steel that can get thrown around and cut somebody very seriously. So we appreciate Amy and Ross for coming out there and giving us the class.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pirtle.
Mr. Moore, I want to thank you for your service and what you did, because what you did saved me 1 year away from having to go over there. So that means a whole lot, especially to my family. And Chief, really, I mean, you know, it was a different time. A lot of the folks up here don't realize that. Chief Stillman, I need to get the name of that group of people that did the hydrants, because I had some texts today and I blew up the city about, oh, the city's on it, you know, Public Works is on it, and the fire department's out there doing all this stuff, and I really should have, I gave that to the wrong people. I gave the praise to the wrong people, so I need to correct that tomorrow. So, anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Pirtle. Mr. Bonds. Well, City View Municipal Television is moving. City View, along with Public Safety TV, have moved on the Longview Cable channel lineup. The channel move will affect Longview Cable customers who plug cable directly into their television without a digital cable box. Those customers will need to rescan their television before May the 6th to receive the new channel locations and avoid an interruption in service. City View and Public TV have moved from 5.1 and 5.2 to 10.1 and 10.2. For more information, please go to longviewtexas.gov/move. And if that is confusing to you, call Terry Miller. Because that makes zero sense to me. Okay. It's time for our spring concert series, Downtown Live. Join us on Friday, April 5th at 5 p.m. at Heritage Plaza for great music, food trucks, cold drinks, and fun for all. Look for Longview's Main Street events on Facebook. Keep Longview beautiful. Now, Downtown Live, once again, I say it all the time, it's the funnest doggone thing on a Friday night in the whole world. So y'all need to go down. Dag Nabbit, are they headlining it? Yeah. They didn't put that in there. Okay, Dag Nabbit. Well, everybody loves Dag Nabbit, so I look forward to that. Look forward to that starting back up. That means spring is here. Good weather's on the way. Keep Longview Beautiful in the city's recycling department are planning the Longview green and clean on Saturday, April the 13th. Popular items can be recycled, including electronics, tires, batteries, glass, motor oil, antifreeze, and paper. Bring items to Lear Park between 8 a.m. and noon, and then stay for Rec and Roll by Longview Parks and Recreation. That's right, Rec and Roll. Okay. One of the Parks Department's vans will be located with free fun and games for the entire family. Learn more at longviewtexas.gov/LGC. Upcoming events. The Ark-La-Gregg County's 8th annual Mud Bugs and Music is Saturday, March the 30th, which is this Saturday. This fun event includes crawfish, jambalaya, beer, frozen margaritas, silent auction, dancing and music by Bio Boogie. Tickets are available on eventbrite.com. If you haven't been to that one, it is fantastic. I go every year. It's along with the Down Syndrome group, the Ark-La-Gregg County. It's an amazing crawfish night. If you like crawfish, you don't want to miss it. Usually Circle M is the one that caters it, and they are fantastic. Newgate Mission presents an evening with Ron Hall on April 4th at 6:30 p.m. at the Belcher Center. Ron Hall is a New York Times best-selling author of Same Kind of Different as Me. Tickets are available at belchercenter.com. Art Walk will fill downtown on Thursday, April 11th at 5 p.m. Stop by your favorite downtown business to view local art and mingle. Learn more at artwalklongview.com. For information on these events, please check out the calendar at visitlongviewtexas.com, or for city events, visit longviewtexas.gov/calendar. Speaking of the New York Times, this is off script, but yesterday there was a reporter from the New York Times in town looking at Longview and doing a story on how he called us a rural city. Rural cities maintain their economics in the hard times with big cities gobbling up all the monies. And so we had a very nice visit. I was shocked that someone from the New York Times was here, but I met him at the Chamber of Commerce Healthy View Summit luncheon, and we had a nice long visit, and hopefully he'll do a nice story about Longview. But he was very impressed. He saw a lot of the city and liked what we were doing, so we'll see. Okay, survey time. Do you believe the city should have boards and commissions helping guide our city leadership, or the city council should be making these decisions all by ourselves? Okay. I like your answers. 66% boards and commissions, 27% city council, 8% no opinion. Well, you know opinions need to have an opinion because it all matters, okay? But the reason I put this up is because we're having our deadline is what, the end of this month or April for boards and commission signups, end of April. We rely on the boards and commissions to bring information to us because people who sign up for these boards and commissions have expertise, they have knowledge, they have areas of their walks of life that we don't all have. And so we gain an immeasurable amount of information and guidance from our boards and commissions. So if you don't think those are important, you're sorely mistaken. And we do not want to make all those decisions. That's not what you elect us to do. But it's great when the citizens will get out there and be a part of government, because that's part of government. So if you're interested in getting involved, people ask me all the time, how do I get involved? It's very easy. Sign up to be on a board and commission. We'll put you on something. You can be a part of something, and you can bring what you know and what you're passionate about to help us make good decisions for the community. So it is very important. I'm glad the citizens recognize that. This is, okay, I'll have to get a little background on this too. How much time do you spend on your cell phone per day? You know, you can check that. I didn't know that. You can check it. Because my wife and I had a discussion. She was telling me you're always on your cell phone. And I go, yes, maybe, maybe not. I don't think I'm on it that much, but I have to be available. You know, I have 2 jobs, and both of them are pretty needy. People call me on both of them. And so I had to be available. And so I thought, well, maybe I do spend a lot of time on my cell phone.
Well,
and so,
what about when you're working out?
I'm always doing business, David. That's business. Yeah, that's business. So I said, I don't know. I just guessed. She goes, well, look on your phone. I didn't know you could look on your phone because I don't spend that much time on my phone. So she showed me on my phone how much time I spent on the phone, and I averaged it out by the day, and it tells you by the day or by the week. I spent so much less time on my phone, she didn't want to have that discussion any longer. She spent way more time on her phone than I did. I averaged an hour and a half a day. That's what I averaged, an hour and a half a day on the phone. So I thought it'd be a fun question to ask. Well, look at here what you all do. Whew, 33%, 1 to 2 hours, that's about where I fit. 29%, 2 to 4. 13%, 4+ hours.
Is that talking or texting?
Everything. everything.
Actual
combined.
iPhone, really?
The whole phone, yeah.
1 hour.
1 hour, 30 minutes a day, yeah. That was what I averaged.
That's impressive.
Yeah, yeah.
I call the Good Shepherd the Healthy Institute.
But here's what blew my mind on this. That 4+ hours a day thing right there, 13%, I went and looked up on the national average. You know what the national average is per day?
6.
It's almost 8.5 hours a day on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, that's amazing. So I thought it was a lot of fun. I appreciate y'all taking that survey. But, you know, I got to thinking, that's a whole day a week I'm spending basically on the phone. So I can cut that out and I have a whole lot more time to take care of city business for y'all. So, okay, next thing. Get involved in your community. Here it is, April 30th. Apply. Longview Boards and Commissions. It is really a service that we need. So I hope that you all will take this seriously and you'll come out and you will fill an application. You can do it online. You can call us, whatever you want to do. We'll be glad to take your application. Okay, last time I get to say this, scholarship ends tomorrow. Get your scholarship forms in. It's a 1-page essay is all it is, and it's worth a $2,000 scholarship for each of the 4 schools in Longview. Thanks to Ms. Ishihar and my stipends, we put these toward this, and it's $2,000 for 1 student from each high school. So 1-page essay is all it takes. We'll read them. We'll come up with the winner, and we'll announce it the first council meeting in May. So I'm looking forward to reading those. I love it every year when I get to see how bright and brilliant our students are by their essays, and I can't wait to do it again this year. So thank you for participating. I hope you all will find it worthy of a 1-page article. So, okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.